From the fire department.
Well, the Johannesburg CBD, we're monitoring various development stories this morning. One of it is the fire that's happening at the Bank of Lisbon building. Our reporter Gillian Pillay is live on the scene.
Who are also experts. So we've got now 4 additional support over and above our own capacity as the city of Johannesburg. So what they are trying to do right now is to ensure that firstly put out all the fire out. Unfortunately, because of a lot of combustible issues like lots of paper, that's really making it really very difficult, but they're really quite confident that they will soon really be able to put out the fire. And once the fire is out, then we've got structural engineers in place, but they've got to wait for the fire to be put out first so that we can really look at the safety of this building.
I think what the next question was going to be, could this building disintegrate? Well,
at this point in time, at very early stages, we cannot unfortunately allow the structural engineers to really be in the building until such time that all the fire is out. So we've got 4 teams from the Joburg EMS, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane, and the team from the airport. So we're confident that they will contain the fire, and then once the fire is out, that's when then the structural engineers were already in place to really look at the safety aspects of this particular building itself.
Let's just talk about manpower quickly. We know that you roped in quite a few people. We know that every 30 minutes we're seeing relief from 10 people would go in, 10 firefighters would go in, and then they would be relieved. How many numbers are we seeing in terms of the manpower that's been brought in here?
Well, MMC, have you got, how many numbers do we have? 40 people. 45 fire.
Okay, we've got 45. But as you say, the Premier of the province, of course, in cooperation with the MEC of Department of Infrastructure Development and myself as MEC of Cooperative Governance, have been speaking to the mayors of the city of Ekurhuleni and the city of Tshwane. The mayor is confirming, and I'm confirming, that the 2 metropolitan councils are joining the city of Johannesburg to increase the capacity so that we can extinguish the fire. They are on the way as I speak to you, and hopefully by this afternoon we must begin to see progress with regard to fighting this fire to its logical conclusion.
How are we planning to prevent any further deaths?
Well, fortunately enough, the only people in the building at the moment are firefighters, and obviously they've been really very careful, because that's one of the things that I wanted to establish. If we still have any employees, unfortunately all of them are out, and the guys are very careful. After losing the 3 lives yesterday, we cannot afford to really lose any more. But at the end of the day, an accident's an accident. I think us as the city of Johannesburg, and I've conveyed this to the MEC, that we have to, this fire must not really be in vain. I'm sure all of you are aware of my concern ever since I took over the city, being concerned about the safety of our people. So this fire is not going to be in vain. We'll do everything possible to work with the provincial government, with the national government, to take back this city. Let us ensure that we can bring the private sector. All these buildings that do not really meet our safety standards must be knocked down, start all over again. As the city of Johannesburg, we've got already 84 buildings that we've put out on tender for the private sector to assist us in this regard. Because if you really look at most of the buildings in the city of Johannesburg, it's an accident bound to really happen. We cannot let this situation continue. So as much as I think it's really unfortunate, I think it gives us an opportunity as the province and the local government and the national government. Let us ensure that we bring back the rule of law in our city.
Just a last question. I know it's early days, but how far is the investigation?
Well, I think unfortunately you can't carry out the investigation while the fire is still on. I think the forensic department to go and establish the cause of the fire. First, we've got to put out the fire, and then once the fire is out, it's only then that the forensic team can go in and investigate what actually caused this fire.
Mr. Mayor, just from me, a question about the conditions under which your EMS personnel are working. We knew that this was the situation for several years now. As early as 2014, we've been hearing about firefighters having to be rescued from the Transnet building, they were rescued complaining about compressed air not being available. We've seen that happen from time and time again, being denied, vehicles not being available. Should firefighters be dying fighting a fire in a city like Johannesburg, how much responsibility do you take as an administration for this failure to attend to this crisis in EMS? Because it's been coming for a while.
Well, I think it's not a question of the EMS being responsible. Obviously, if the building itself does not obviously really meet safety standards, you can have the best fire team in place. If the building itself does not really meet the standards, you've got a challenge already. And if you look at most of the buildings in this inner city, I can take you within the 5 kilometer radius right now. I can tell you, you're going to find more than 50% of the buildings actually not really meeting the requirement. So that is why on the 1st of December 2016, 100 days of my administration, I made a commitment that we cannot let the situation continue. Exactly the issue you are raising. And we've started that process. Us as the City of Johannesburg, we've already passed our inner city rejuvenation plan passed by a council. We are now taking back these buildings, offering them to the private sector to build affordable, accommodate, safe accommodation for our people.
Mr. Mayor, I'm asking about the EMS situation. Mr. Michael San earlier on was talking about a process to procure more vehicles for the EMS department. That was the explanation in 2014. That was the explanation in 2014. We have it on record. What has happened since then? Why are we still procuring EMS vehicles? Almost 5 years since the first time that excuse was given.
I'm sure you are aware, us as a new administration, at the beginning of this year, we actually released a statement about the procurement of fast engines, which were procured illegally and fraudulently, and we had to really stop that contract. We managed, fortunately, 4 or 5 months ago, you remember we received 4 of the engines already. Unfortunately, we're a new administration, 4 months 2 years into this government. So there's just no way that you can expect us to really deal with all these challenges overnight.
I have a question for you as well, Mr. Mayor, but just one last question, Mr. Mayor, for you. The work of oversight in terms of ensuring that buildings comply partly falls on you as a city. How hard was it for you to determine that this building was, this and 7 other buildings should not be occupied by anyone within the city of Johannesburg, within your prescripts? It's
interesting because I'm sure some of you accompanied our team from development planning, where we've obviously working through the courts to actually demolish some of the buildings that do not comply. It's a process where we had to really work through the courts to make sure that we get court orders to be able to really demolish these buildings. This is not just this one and the one that we've demolished. And I'm sure you saw the statement that we issued afterwards that this is the beginning, us as a new administration, to ensure that compliance is no longer negotiable. And we're going to expect you as the media to deal with, to bear with us. Because when I made the statement on the 1st of December, you remember how you people insulted me and you thought I was mad. When I was saying to South Africa and the city of Johannesburg that we're sitting on a time bomb, let us stop it. And you called me names, you insulted me. Now look at what is happening. So I hope you're going to work with us as a new administration as we demolish these buildings, making sure that people everyone who put up a building in the city of Johannesburg do it within the legislative framework. But the challenge is so massive. We've got over 500 buildings in the inner city of Johannesburg who are not in compliance. Right. And some of, unfortunately, of the prosecutorial responsibility does not lie with us as a city. If I can show you cases that are today sitting with an MPA where warrants of arrest have been issued for more than a year and no arrests have really been made. So I run a municipality, I don't run national government. So that is why it's important with the MEC being here to assist us as a city of Johannesburg, where the criminal justice system actually holds us up to help us unlock the system.
Mr. Moyelo, I'm going to suggest to you that the lack of care that was displayed by yourselves as a government here is almost Esidimeniesque. that lack of care for human life. How on earth were you sending people to go and work in a building that only complied at 21% compliance to health and safety? How do you describe yourselves as a caring government when you can't be caring for your own workers?
These things takes time. As the Premier explained yesterday, Department of Human Settlement and COGTA. Just when I arrived in May, I said that this building doesn't seem to be the kind of working environment where workers should work. And I inquired, and I was told that the budget has not been set, and I instructed the head of department that the budget should be set. By June, the budget was agreed upon, signed up with Department of Infrastructure Development. At that point, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs had already taken a stand, in fact, a stand already, and their budget was approved, and they had advertised for to be evacuated from this building to go to another building. Just last week, we received a comprehensive report about the state of the structural conditions of all buildings where the provincial government is working. And that report basically says 7 of those buildings, Mayor, are not suitable for working conditions. And just yesterday, an hour before we received the report that 23rd floor was on fire, the MEC of Infrastructure Development, MEC Mama Bolo, was briefing cabinet about the 7 buildings, and that the government should move with speed to ensure that we procure alternative buildings, and then we can move the workers out of the building. So unfortunately, this incident has happened. Now we must understand, as the mayor says, an incident is an incident, but this was an incident and an accident bound to happen, because we knew that these buildings were not necessarily conducive for working environment.
I think, for me, the medium, this is just really, a drop in an ocean in terms of the risk that our people are facing. I can take you to buildings within, as I said, the 5 kilometer radius.
To government.
Yeah, no.
Yes,
whether they belong to government or not,
sector.
or private sector, we cannot allow a situation where we let our people live in this type of conditions. So I think it's important to ensure that you, as the media, hold us accountable to ensure that we get our people to live in conditions that are habitable. But obviously it's really very disappointing when it even including government buildings that do not comply. That actually demonstrates to us that the breakdown of the rule of law in the city of Johannesburg, it's something that unfortunately it is not negotiable. Unfortunately, for me, as running a municipality, in terms of our competency, where we need provincial government and national government to really work with us.
When this was happening, people were working in these buildings and continue to work in the other buildings. Well, you've said they must not come now. At a time when you are paying for buildings that are not occupied as a provincial government, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Absolutely, but life of our workers and employees, as it is for the case of the employees of the city, is as important. So it's not. The lives of our people are more important than the empty floors where workers were evacuated. There is a number of workers of cooperative governance that were moved to Diagonal Street building precisely because the assessors said that those floors were not suitable for workers to stay there. So we're complying whilst we're looking for an alternative building. And as I say to you, we are almost at the tail end of procuring the buildings, but the procurement processes take their own life, and we're not in control of that situation. And we're looking forward.
Is your office here, MEC, in this building?
As I talk to you now, the 9th floor is catching fire, and that's where the office of the MEC is.
Right. And every morning you walked in here, did it have to take a quote-unquote comprehensive report for you to actually say this is now an emergency, we need to get out of here?
Every morning
you walk in here, and the other MECs, do they also have their offices here?
Every morning when I walk into this building, when I arrive at my office, I ask the Chief of Staff, how far is the department with regard to procurement of an alternative building?
Did you fire anyone for failure to do that?
No, it's not failure by anyone to procure. As I say,
it is.
I took a decision in May, and the budget was secured, and the procurement process was closed last Friday Okay, so they are now at adjudication process. So that process has started. It has unfolded, as it has been. The Premier's ordered for the commissioning of the structural conditions of all buildings that government works from, and this is an annual event. So we've got that report. So it's not something that came as an accident. It's part of the process.
This is another bad advertisement for yourselves as a governing party, the ANC as well. Would you accept that?
Well, it's not about the ANC, it's not about any political party, it's about the lives of our people. It's about being efficient with regard to the systems that are required for us to ensure that workers are safe. It's not about politics, it's about the safety of our people.
I suppose what
and that's why we regret.
That caring government element that you always talk to is not displayed by the conditions under which your workers have been working.
Well, that could be your statement, but as I indicate that in fact we are in the process of evacuating workers from our building, and that's why you will realize that none of the employees except one who was at the 24th floor, who was admitted in hospital yesterday, were able to evacuate 1,100 workers within 45 minutes once we were made aware that the fire has broken down. So this is in part as a consequence of the measures we've put into place, conscious of the fact that that building was not conducive for longer term occupation, and we had put those measures into place to ensure that if an emergency happens, we should be able to evacuate workers within 30 to 45 minutes. That we have successfully done. The firefighters, and may their soul rest in peace, these are heroes and heroines of our land who fought in defense of the lives of others. And I don't think we need to make politics out of it. They died on duty, extinguishing the fire, but none of the employees of the Department of Health, Human Settlement or Cooperative Governance had been affected, in terms of fatality with regard to this particular situation. We regret the passing and the situation that 3 of our firefighters deceased. It is very unfortunate. These are the soldiers that died on duty.
All right. Mr. Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. Really
thank you so much. And what I can personally appeal to you as the media, I would really challenge you to start really looking at the city as fellow South Africans, to really look at the conditions of our people. This is just really a drop in an ocean in terms of the risks. We're sitting with very, very serious risk. And your responsibility as the media to hold us accountable, to ensure that we stop a situation where we get up.
That's what we're doing, Mr. Mayor, particularly around the issue of the EMS. For me, I feel like there's a lot that you need to account for. I know that you're talking about legacy issues, but you've been in office for 2 years now.
I've dealt with.
Day one, the issue of the EMS was an emergency.
It is for that reason. When we took over the office, you are aware of the contract that we cancelled of EMS, which was fraudulent, which we shared it with you as the media. And the company that was given a tender to provide the fire engines, that company is actually under liquidation as we speak. And we look at that contract fraudulent. We shared this with you, and I'm sure no one would expect us to continue dealing with a company that is firstly which was
to do with compressed air. That there were issues a few years ago. Have those been attended to? The issues to do with uniforms. I mean, we heard stories from some firefighters talking about buying their own socks and those kinds of things. Have those been attended to? I hear the issue about the fire engines, but I'm saying the systemic issues, the other systemic issues, have those been addressed since you took office?
Okay, let me. Fortunate enough, when I took over office, I immediately did an audit of all infrastructural backlog in the city of Johannesburg, confirmed by National Treasury. 170 billion rands. I shared this with you, with everyone. You look at our current budget in terms of capex, just under 10 billion rands. So if anyone would really expect us as a new multi-party government to address 170 billion rands of infrastructure backlog all in 2 years, I think it's really unfair. What I'm asking you to do, hold us accountable on the budget and the money that we've got available to us.
Right.
Yeah, but let me just indicate that the government has got the responsibility to govern on behalf of the citizens. It doesn't really matter which political party comes to play. Now, unfortunately, if as the mayor alleges, and these are the matters that I hear for the first time, and that's the reason why, as an MEC of cooperative governance, local government, I have a responsibility when matters such as the ones that the mayor is talking about are reported and I'm made aware of them. I'm empowered in terms of Section 106 of Municipal Systems Act to inquire from the mayor what evidence do we have, so that if there's evidence, I must now pull 106 subsection 1B to institute a forensic investigation, so that indeed if people were corrupt, mayor, they should be brought to book and people must be accountable. Yeah. Now, this must not be done at the expense of holding programs that otherwise were necessary, for instance, the procurement of goods and services that could probably have given us the necessary capacity for us to not extinguish
can you
the fire.
Confirm that we only have 14 fire engines for the entire Joburg as we speak now? Is
that something MMC
San is behind you? Is behind you.
MMC, can you
is that still the situation that we only have 14 fire engines for all of Johannesburg?
Well, we have more than 14 fire engines, but please understand that a lot of the fire engines are extremely old. Some of them are 30 years old. So they do go back to workshop. It's an extremely undesirable situation. We've never made a secret that we suffer this legacy issue. But I think, as the mayor said, that we take responsibility to rectify these issues. We are not saying that we look away, but I certainly want to share with our residents that our fire engine replacement program is going ahead. In fact, I spoke to the city manager this morning. The tender specification will be concluded anytime soon. The advert is expected to go out in about 2 weeks' time. And other equipment that you mentioned earlier, we'll certainly look into that. There's no such a thing as the city of Johannesburg not wanting to take responsibilities. We're here for our residents, and we'll deal with every single issue that needs attention.
In fact, we invited you 3-4 months ago when we received 4 brand new fire engines, and I'm sure you saw that. That really demonstrates to you that we're serious about this, but we can only operate on the basis of the budget available to us.
Thank you for indulging me. I really appreciate it. Let me release you so you can go attend to
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And that was MEC Urban Mashaba together with the MEC of Human Settlements briefing the media there on the state of what we have seen unfold in the past 48 hours. What we are looking at now is the building still heavily smoked up. Firefighters really battling. They've been battling, we understand, since 4 a.m. this morning. A few floors from the 10th floor is still being fanned by wind, and that's what we understand. There's a lot of paper on those floors, and that's causing a lot of sporadic fires to ignite. The fire is basically moving in a 360 radius, and what we do understand is that all manpower in Gauteng have been deployed to this area. We understand something like 45 plus firefighters have been deployed to this area, paramedics. There's also a satellite office here where provincial and municipal and local heads have been briefed, and this satellite office will be deployed here indefinitely until the situation is under control. We can also tell you that this situation has attracted quite a lot of eyewitnesses. The streets adjacent to where this building is situated is basically cordoned off. On the opposite side of the building, what you're seeing here is student accommodation. We understand that students have not been evacuated yet. As you can see, they are still looking through the windows, looking at the situation that has been unfolding since yesterday. A lot of eyewitnesses, a lot of people inquisitive taking videos of what they have been seeing. But what we can tell you is that firefighters are going in groups of 10 firefighters at a time, and they're being relieved in spaces of 30 minutes. Like I said, something like 45 plus firefighters being deployed here, and it seems that they're being the turnaround time of 30 minutes is just so that no one is really fatigued, or really there's no incidents of smoke elation or any fatalities like what we saw yesterday when those three firefighters died as a result of this blaze.
Yeah, indeed, brave men and women battling the blaze in the Johannesburg CBD. We also heard from a very fiery Johannesburg Mayor, Herman Mashaba, giving us an update, asking the media to hold them accountable on the budget and the money available to them to sort out these issues. Just remember that this building housed the Department of Health, Human Settlements, as well as the Cooperative Government and Traditional Affairs. 3 firefighters have lost their lives in this blaze, and our present thoughts go out to their families.